thirsty. Come and cool me down when I'm hungry. Your recipe is so tasty, and you sure can feel your heart so still. Oh, little darling, steer it up. Come on and steer it up. Oh, little darling, steer it up.
Just long enough to be sure that you didn't make a wrong turn. Wait long enough, maybe an hour or two, before I decide it wasn't me, it was you. Wasn't me, it was you. I would like you to know, although it seems sad to say, this was only the worst hour of my day. Has it been on your mind? You think about it when you laugh. I think that it's a big mistake, 'cause I think that we could make it last, even if it's just for a while. Wait here now, just long enough to be sure that you really wanna go through with it. 'Cause I really wanna go through with it. Really wanna go through with it.
took me a little bit. We don't have one. Good morning. If everybody can grab their seats. Joshua, can you do me a favor and move about 5 rows behind you, please? Because there's no one sitting in the last row. So if you can do that, I'd appreciate it. Seriously, guys, come on closer. We don't bite. It makes it a lot nicer and warmer in the room. So welcome to 1 Million Cups. If this is your first time that you've been here, we appreciate it. Just by show of hand, if you can raise your hand, let me know who's here for the first time. I'd really appreciate it. Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Next time, please bring a friend because we want to be able to grow this, and this does not grow without the community being involved. Real quickly, this is a Kauffman Foundation initiative that was launched just a little bit over 2 years ago. Next week will be our 1-year anniversary here in Orlando. So we're looking for a champagne sponsor. I don't see any hands being raised. Oh, we have a hand. Someone's going to bring some champagne. Good morning, Shay. So real quickly, this is by volunteer entrepreneurs for the entrepreneurial community. All the organizers here in this room are doing this because we're passionate about growing our local ecosystem. And this doesn't work and doesn't happen without your help. And so again, thank you for being here. One thing that I want to tell you real quickly is that, and you're going to hear that asked from us several times, is that we need your help to get other people to come in and present their story. Everybody has a great story, and we can help you find it and help you craft it. So we would like for you to be here. Real quickly, I'm Ron Benziv, one of the organizers. Shay, stand up so people can see you, is the other organizer. Alex, stand up, please. There you go. If you haven't met Alex yet, and David over there. And meeting us and joining us through the internet, we have Nancy in Kansas City. Everybody say, hi, Nancy. Hi, Nancy. There you go. And so without any further ado, what I want to tell you guys is today is a really cool thing because we're going to share a little bit more about what's going on in the community. And for those of you that are not aware, there's some really cool things that are going on. And so without any further ado, if we can have Phil come up to the stage, and they'll tell you more about what they're doing and how they're impacting our local community and the local ecosystem. Thank you, guys.
Hey, thanks. Hi, I'm Thomas Aldinger, and I'm coming from Phil. I'm one of the co-founders at Florida Hospital Innovation Lab.
And I'm Molly. I am at the Florida Hospital Innovation Lab as well as a student at Rollins.
So back in 2012, Karen Tilstra, who was one of the founders of the Florida Hospital Innovation Lab, was finishing her doctoral dissertation in it was a doctoral study in creativity and leadership. So she was working on that, and I actually ended up working with her as well because I was finishing my sociology degree at University of Central Florida, and we were doing some creativity workshops in the community. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the arts events that come, the Art Week, and we were actually doing a week-long workshop that was to actually empower people to do creativity and work as a community. And when we were out there, 2 executives from Florida Hospital took note of what was going on. David Banks and Doug Hilliard saw this and they said, what would this look like if we could bring something like this, like a creativity workshop, into the hospital? They said, we're facing a lot of disruption. The Affordable Care Act is really turning healthcare on its head right now, and we need to become faster, more dynamic, and able to deal with and create solutions in a rapidly changing and unpredictable future. So they approached Karen, myself, said, what would it look like if you could come into the hospital? And as we went forward, we started realizing, as we started working with 12 other people, they brought together a team of what we called the faculty, and they were from all over the hospital. Anywhere from a frontline supervisor all the way up to a VP of finance was on this team of 12 people. And as we worked together with them and started doing some training in what creativity, innovation can look like in a corporate setting, they said, we have to create a space that looks like nothing else at the hospital. We have to create something that literally will blow people's minds when they come in, because this has to be beyond business as usual. So we created this lab, and this is the Innovation Lab. It's right in the middle of the hospital. It's situated between 2 active nursing units. This is a decommissioned area, but one of the key things was that it was right in the core of the hospital, that it was not disconnected in another place. And we weren't really sure as we went forward how many people would get interested. We thought we might have to market a little bit. But as the faculty brought in their projects, we ran about 10 projects back in 2012. And as they went forward, we just didn't have any room to fit everyone else that came. There were a lot of people that ended up coming into the space, and a lot of projects emerged just naturally, organically. We never marketed. We just got a demand. And you can see the space gets filled up pretty quickly, so we had to get other rooms across the hall and actually kind of make them look like this and create more space and hire more people. And that's when Molly got more involved as well. She was actually helping us before, but she got involved.
And so when these projects come through, we take them through the design thinking model that comes out of Stanford. So first we start in empathy. So this is where the problem solvers and team members are really able to connect with their end user and figure out not the problem that they think exists, but the problem that actually exists and the end user is articulating. And once they have that empathy, they can go on and redefine their challenge and make sure they're solving the right problem. And then they can ideate or brainstorm possible solutions, and then they can prototype out their best solutions. And the best thing about prototyping is that it's rough, rapid, and right. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be something that your end user can interact with and test so that you can get more empathy, more feedback, and tweak your prototype as necessary. And so there are a couple different ways that we can take team members through this design thinking process. The first one is a hackathon, and that is a really high energy day where teams come in, we feed them breakfast, and we feed them lunch, and we go through the entire design thinking process except for testing in one day. And by the end of the day, they have actual prototypes that they can take to their end users and test. So that's the hackathon. And we have the innovation trek, which is more of a long-term, long-scale innovation project. So that allows the team members to go deeper into empathy and immerse themselves in the problem more so they can come up with better solutions. And then the third way that we can take projects through is through a dynamic discussion. Dynamic discussions are powerful because they usually center around things that absolutely have to happen. It's a mandated change. People don't have any say over if it's happening, because it will. So with a dynamic discussion, people are able to articulate their frustrations and their fears and what their perfect world looks like, and then try and figure out ways to bring that perfect world into their existing world, and they can solve the problems that way.
And so one of the things that's really worked well with the Innovation Lab, or what is affectionately referred to as Phil, is that people can come in from anywhere across the organization. There's no barriers to entry. Using a model like design thinking allows anyone to come in, whether they're a nurse that's working with patients every day, and it gives them a language and a shared framework where they can work with a physician, an administrator, or even someone from an outside company like an engineer or an economist coming in from a larger company. So by going through this model, people can actually get to solutions very rapidly. And it's really worked at Florida Hospital. You can see people here in this picture just building things out. These look like they're just doing arts and crafts, but this is actually a service model right here. So giving people the tools that anyone can interact with can really empower a whole group of people to collaborate. So as we've worked over the last 2 years, there's been more and more interest from different areas. So we've had some success by first starting out with internal projects and then moving on to projects that centered around physicians and physician strategy. So one of the things that's, oh, is that 6 minutes? Oh. Okay. So as we've gone forward, we've started to work with projects, and we've seen outcomes in different areas. One of the projects that worked in the lab was the cardiovascular bundle payment project. It was an opportunity for Florida Hospital to be one of the first 8 hospitals to pilot the bundle payment concept from Medicare. And basically, if they could prove that they could save money and increase access and increase quality, they would be one of the leaders in that field. And they actually were able to do that the first quarter of this year. They've already saved $250,000 off every surgery, off the pilot surgeries that have gone through that program. So they're seeing success there, and they're putting themselves in a position to lead on that model. And as we've gone forward as well, Florida Hospital started to work with outside companies. There's a lot of demand for companies like GE, Johnson & Johnson, Siemens, to work directly with a healthcare organization and have access to really rich empathy fields, be able to connect directly with end users that are using their products, connect directly with patients and with providers who are actually serving patients, and be able to speak directly with them and collaborate with them. So as we've gone forward, we've seen sorry, I messed that up a little bit, but we've seen that companies are coming in, and we're actually getting opportunities to work with some companies that are trying new applications of technology. One's using something that's like sports tape and using it in a way that actually helps people recover quickly from surgery. So we're moving forward, and we've run about 200 projects so far, and about 10 from outside companies. So it's been going pretty well.
We're going to bring it to a close and open it up to questions. We're going to walk around with mics, so if you guys have any questions, please just raise your hands and someone will bring you a microphone.
Yeah, great presentation. Looking for something like this for so long because I have a healthcare startup, and on the West Coast, access is the most important thing when you have a healthcare startup. Like money leads to access, which leads to an opportunity to test your product. So do you work with startups? Because you were talking about working with big companies and then within the hospital, but there's a lot of startups outside the hospital and outside of GE, like myself, and I know tons of other startups that are looking for that type of opportunity.
So that's a really good question. We have not worked with a lot of startups to date. We're working with a couple of team members on the field team that aren't here right now. One of them is working on the Health Village concept, and he's actually the point person for startup stuff. But we have been talking to one startup to see what's possible, but we don't have an incubator space right now. However, with your point is that Florida Hospital wants to be able to find a model that works to open up access for new and innovative ideas to come in. Right now it's mostly centered around larger companies that can actually fund that access, but we're always open to creating new ways. I mean, this is a young department at Florida Hospital. Phil has only been around for 3 years, and already there's a lot of buy-in, so we're always open to finding new ways to work.
Yeah, I'll talk with you guys because I know HealthBox is huge, and they're in Tampa, and they fund startups. And then Florida Blue is building the Innovation Center at Lake Nona, and they're funding startups as well. So, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you're a partner that fills a need that they don't particularly have. Florida Blue is a provider, HealthBox is an accelerator, but the hospital has access to actual pilots and patients.
So one of the people that we could connect you with and we can talk more about it, is Rick Wassel, who's working in that space. He's really wanting to bring in not only just startups, but also the investors and the backing for that so they can be supported. So absolutely, we should talk more.
We have a question back here.
So how does this work for the employees at the hospital? Do they get time off from their normal shifts, or is this an after hours kind of thing? How does that work?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so sorry. The people who come in are usually supported by their bosses. So the bosses will make sure that the schedule allows for people to come in and have that time, because the hospital, it really has bought into this idea of innovation and letting the frontline users create the changes. So they are able to take that time off. They are able to switch the shifts around because the hospital knows in the long run this is beneficial to the hospital.
And one of the things, when we were talking about the original team that came in, one of the team members was Doug Hilliard. He's the Senior Vice President of Finance at the Orlando campus. He made a commitment that anyone that came from that campus would get paid when they worked in there. So there's always an actual incentive for them to be in there because they consider that to be real work. So that's what's really changing in that organization, is that this isn't extra work, this isn't side projects. These are projects that are core to what they need to do, and they're bringing in the frontline staff that actually have the answers to those challenges right into the team, and they're getting paid to be there. Now, other folks, like if you're in administration or a physician, they might have a different payment model, so they don't stay clocked in, but they're still actually given that as one of their job duties when they're working, so they can actually bring in a project to the innovation lab, and that's considered them doing their job. Does that actually answer your question at all? Yeah. Okay.
We have a question right back here.
I just wanted to know how you guys go from the test, is that testing in a department, and then into implementation if something is successful?
How do we go from testing? From
Implementation.
like a concept to testing?
Yes.
So one of the things when we're talking about internal projects, so projects that are operating right within the hospital, is this is where we've been able to really excel over a consultant model. A lot of times people will bring in consultants to work with them in design workshops or to bring in solutions. But what we're doing is we're bringing in the people who actually work in those departments to build a solution. So from designing to concept to testing is one fluid transition. They know whether it's working or not because they're testing it in their own departments. So they'll oftentimes bring in more people to get feedback, and if they need to get more money or more resources to do something, they'll of course have to involve they'll have to involve finance, they'll have to involve some leadership. But because they're right there and seeing it, the testing is pretty solid. And we're working with a lot of people who are in healthcare, so they have a pretty firm background in testing and understanding whether something's working or not. They have a lot of ways to know that. So it's been so smooth. Actually, that's one of the pieces of feedback we've gotten from the executive team at the hospital is that we've never seen solutions implemented so quickly, because usually there's resistance to change because the ideas are coming from outside. So.
And is that implemented hospital-wide, like across all of Florida Hospital, or is that after the test is successful?
Yeah, so there have been projects that have gone to the entire system. So Florida Hospital is a big system of hospitals. There's 8 here, and then there's 24 in the central Florida area. So there has been several projects that have gone system-wide. Other projects have been system strategies, so they've immediately been at that level. Other projects of the 200 that we mentioned, some of them only stay within the department. It might just be that they're solving a problem that they face day to day, and it doesn't apply across the hospital, but they'll report it out and they'll share that with other people, so in case they have that same problem, they can be inspired. So.
Could you describe a particular project, what the objective was and what the solution was?
Yeah, sure. There's one that we didn't have enough time to mention, but cardiovascular bundle payment. That was a project that was exciting for us because it brought together 2 very difficult groups of people to work with. No offense to anyone that's here, but doctors and administrators. And that project, its goal, its objective, what was it trying to accomplish was how might Florida Hospital create a bundle payment model? So the bundle payment concept is really saying it's pretty simple. Medicare will pay directly to the hospital. The hospital will then pay the physician and any other service that goes in that, but they'll embrace the risk of everything that happens to that patient afterwards. So they were saying, okay, that's a concept, but how do you actually apply that? They came in and brought in several different physicians who they considered leaders in the cardiovascular space, and some administration from the hospital side as well as from the physician practice side. And then that team actually went about interviewing patients, interviewing other doctors, talking with other physicians, talking with other administrators, and talking with the nursing involved in that process. And they were able to discover a really key insight. So they were able to discover that there was no guiding thread for patients throughout the entire process. So when a patient goes into the hospital, the experience is very difficult for them, and it's hard for them to know what to do when they actually leave the hospital. Well, up until that time, it's been externalized, so it falls on the physician to take accountability for that. But if the hospital system is going to embrace that type of a bundle payment project or bundle payment model, they're actually taking the responsibility right off the bat. So they have the responsibility to also coordinate all that care. So from that insight, realizing that the patients were actually losing track of even what medications they were supposed to take, what recovery steps they needed to follow 30 days after their surgery, they were able to actually identify a really key opportunity to put in a care coordination model that they hadn't used before in that space. They've been using it in breast cancer, but they hadn't been using it in the cardiovascular space. So they actually started working and repurposed a couple of positions and piloted a coordinated care model, which go into a lot of detail about that, but basically keeps the patient having one point of contact throughout their entire experience. It's not just the physician, it's actually it's a nurse that they can call at any time that knows what's going on with them and can advise them. And by doing that, they ran, the first quarter of this year, they ran a study or a pilot to see how effective that would be, kind of like A/B testing. So as they went forward, they actually saw that they were getting a significant amount of savings. They were reducing the amount of people that were coming back to the hospital to be readmitted because they weren't actually able to follow up. And they were reducing the overall cost of the surgeries because they had because they had coordinated that whole team, the physicians, the surgeon, it was the cardiologist and the cardiovascular surgeon, the nurse administrators that were in that area, nurse managers, frontline nursing staff, the surgery staff, and they had actually brought in some process improvement folks as well to look at what they could save out of the system. So they were able to save about $250,000 even in that pilot program. So they're running through, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's between 500 and 600 patients through that program. And since it's a high volume area, it's a really key area for them to innovate in. So I hope does that kind of answer your question? Mm-hmm.
We have a question over here.
Real quick, the format we typically do is, what are your asks for the collective? And then secondarily, what do you envision the future growth model for your program?
Oh, okay. Well, one of the things that we want to do is we want to actually be in the community and be getting feedback from folks like this. So if you have any questions, comments, things that you would like, we'd love to hear them. It's an open space. It's a very open environment. Karen, myself, we're always able to take phone calls and talk to people about new ideas. Well, Karen, not so much today. She's busy right now. But we have a team up there that's about 8 people that are always open to hearing things and kind of bringing those ideas to surface. So if you have something that you want to share or you have something that you want to bring forward, please do. Contact us, reach out to us. If you want to be involved in any projects, if you want to be connected to this, we can give you a piece of paper and we can email out if we need help on something. Besides that, the future goals is really to take this to its highest potential, to work with companies that really can bring new technology or new services into this space.
Define highest potential.
Well, the highest potential is for Florida Hospital is they want to actually bring the cost as low as possible for the patient, increase the access for the community to every type of service that they can, and increase the quality so that the healthcare system really isn't broken anymore, and that they're really serving the community. For us at Phil, the highest potential is the sky's the limit, because innovation can go so many different ways, and there's so many ways that you can expand out this model that we just want to see what's possible and go with what has the most potential, what we see as the most potential.
Any other questions? Really? All right, seeing none, thank you very much. But again, just to dovetail on what Justice just asked you guys, is there something, no, don't go away yet. Is there something right now simple that the community can do in a very specific way? What, if you could ask for something, what would that be? Be it, social media, come and visit, share ideas, whatever it would be. What could we as a community do to help you guys?
One of the key things that
Yep.
One of the key things that we need is we need areas to get empathy. So there's a lot of patients at the hospital, but sometimes this is a very specific thing, but sometimes projects are working and they don't have any outside perspective. So a physician that's been working as a physician for 30 years may not have any idea what's going on in social media and how they can leverage that. So sometimes it's really helpful to be able to bring people in to understand their point of view, what we call empathy, and really understand what's out there in the community. If this is a group of people who are entrepreneurs, you guys would probably have a far and wide perspective on what's going on and what's trending right now. So if you could help us with that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm just curious, is anyone allowed to be part of this, part of what y'all are doing? Because it does feel like it's inside the hospital, but I know Design Think is such a huge thing, and a lot of communities have their own Design Think groups. Like, is anyone allowed to be part of the design thinking that you're doing?
That's a really good question. Depending on the project and depending on the way it's set up. So we've had people come in we've had a general contractor come in and participate in a project because they needed help in that area. They needed to be able to see that type of thing from the team side. But do we let everyone just come in and work on the projects? Not exactly, because there's a lot of regulations in that space.
Wait, I'm going to stop this because it's a conversation, and we welcome that, but I'd like you guys to stay and continue that conversation afterwards. Thank you very much.
Ron's the bad guy.
Again.
Just want to take a minute while our next presenter is getting set up. Ron and I have a few announcements. Who's enjoying their Barney's coffee this morning? Yeah? I can hear some noise. Go ahead, let it. Woo! All right, so Barney's has been incredibly generous in giving us this deliciously roasted craft coffee every single Wednesday faithfully. If you haven't visited their cafes, there's one right on Park Avenue. There's also one downtown on Orange. But I discovered something really cool about Barney's last week that I just wanted to get to share with you guys, and that is that they do amazing dinners on the weekends. Just a show of hands, who's had dinner at Barney's Cafe on Park Avenue? 3, 4. Wow. Okay, you guys are in for an amazing treat. So I'm not a foodie at all. I'm a Southern girl, and I like steak and potatoes and collards and that kind of thing. But this food was absolutely exquisite, and they didn't ask me to come up and say it. I just really had that good of a time that I wanted to share it with you guys. There's this gorgeous courtyard with this fountain and white candle lights, and the chef is like 24 years old. He's got like 3 or 4 kids, and he's just so passionate about everything that he does. Everything's farm to table. He makes his own tomato jam and his own mayonnaise, and they actually have a sommelier on staff to help you with your pairings, and it's all just really accessible and delicious, and I thought that you guys should know that because they are creating a really great experience in our community, and they are one of our primary sponsors, so I wanted to share that with you guys. Yeah.
All right. Just a few more announcements. I want to give a shout out to Rudy. If you haven't met Rudy, you need to meet him. He is someone that set up a new startup, just graduated from the Starter Studio, and is just rocking it. He followed his passion. He decided that this is what he wants to do, and he's got some really cool news that are happening this weekend. If you want to get the scoop on that, you should ask him because it's really exciting. So Rudy, thank you for helping us to joycast this every Wednesday. So you heard about Barney's. Thank you, Barney's. Continue to tweet at them. Say hi to all our sponsors. And please don't forget Rollins. Without them, we wouldn't be here in this room today, and you guys wouldn't get free parking. So if you've parked across the street and you have your ticket, go ahead and validate it. If you didn't bring your ticket with you, grab any piece of paper and stamp it. We have a stamp sitting out there on the table. Stamp it. They will take it. So that works easily, and thank you again. So again, a big shout out to Rollins and their help for that. One other thing that I want to bring to your attention is a very close friend of mine who says, I'm doing this because of you. He blames me for it. He's not going to give me any credit when he makes it, though. It's Jeremy Scheinberg and his friend Chris who launched Here Comes Trobo after a Startup Weekend event. And they've asked me to share with you, they couldn't be here today because at 9 o'clock they launched their Kickstarter campaign. So, yeah, and they are a 1 Million Cups alum as well. Thank you, David. So please Google them, give them a shout out. It's, Here Comes Trobo. Google Trobo Kickstarter. Support them at whatever you can afford to do. Help them because it helps all of us to really continue to showcase that Orlando is a vibrant and viable startup community, and we want you guys to do this and help our companies along the way. And last but not least, I want to bring up to your attention that there's tonight, it's here, right, in this auditorium. And this auditorium, there will be a movie. And the movie is called Money for Nothing. Right? Yeah? Right? Everybody likes that? So it's inside the Federal Reserve, and it's screening tonight here. And there's going to be a networking event at Mitchell's as well before that. And the screening is here at 7 p.m. at the auditorium. And if you have any questions, just raise your hand, come and see her. And she may even have some tickets for you if you say please. So hopefully you guys will be here. It's a great opportunity to learn more about what happens with our money and how we're printing it and what happens with it. Now, we're going to go old school. We're going to introduce to you guys someone that if you haven't met yet, you definitely need to know. He's one of the pillars of the social entrepreneurship movement in Orlando, and he is spearheading a variety of different things, including working hand in hand with Phil Downtown CREDo, which is his baby, which is expanding in phenomenal leaps and bounds, and he's going to tell us more about this. And last but not least, I think some of you were here when he talked about Rally Makers, and he's got some cool news about that as well. So without any further ado, Ben Hoyer.
I'm glad you guys are here. I don't know if you have set out a credo for your life as you make decisions and kind of chart your course, but we set out a credo when we started Downtown CREDo, and it says that life is worth living, and so I refuse to merely exist, but I will pursue a life of meaning and purpose, joy and fulfillment. It says the world is not yet as it ought to be. Neither is my city and neither am I, but I reject my tendency towards apathy and engage the world believing I can make an impact for good. And it says that I am not alone, and so I press in through self-sufficiency and isolation and strive to live in authentic community. So we have this credo that anchors everything we do, that's built around the three ideas of meaning, impact, and community. And we just have this conviction that our quality of life is more tied to who we're becoming than what we have. And if we become people of meaning, impact, and community, then no matter how much stuff we have, we'll like our life better. People at all levels of affluence will like their life better as they take up this credo of meaning, impact, and community. And so we try and have our goal then, the mission of Downtown CREDo is to cultivate a network of people who are taking up this credo of meaning, impact, and community across our nation's cities. And by doing that, we'll improve quality of lives. We try and introduce people to this credo through three divisions. Coffee. These are coffee beans. You see that? That's a coffee bean. So you remember that the credo said the world is not yet as it ought to be. Neither is my city and neither am I. The problem with large global issues is they get big and we feel small. And so I knew just enough about the coffee industry from going to school that it was one place in the world where things weren't as they ought to be. And I'd go to the grocery store and look at all the coffee that was there. And I knew enough about the coffee industry to know that the fair trade industry doesn't do what you'd hope it would do. It's not pulling anybody out, and and so I'd get apathetic. I'd say the coffee industry is one place in the world where things aren't as they ought to be, but there's nothing I can do. I'll buy the coffee on sale. And a couple of years ago, I had a friend who told me that he already goes down to Guatemala once a year, builds a relationship with coffee growers there, pays them an average of 50% better than fair trade, and buys it directly from them through relationships. And I said, this is one place where I can be the person I'd like to be, where I can reject my tendency towards apathy and allow myself to conceive of who I am as a person of global impact. So then we started doing that. This is our coffee division. We create opportunities for folks to make that step themselves. So when you come into Downtown CREDo Coffee in College Park, we started that shop in 2011, so we're like 3.5 years old. When you come there, you'll name your price for coffee, because rather than just be a consumer and buy something, we want you to start to think about how are you living with meaning, impact, and community, and what's your global potential to be a person of global impact. So we started that in 2011. And we just announced that we're going to open 2 more coffee shops, hopefully before the end of the year. One we're going to put at Florida Hospital in their new executive headquarters building right by the Sunrail stop. You get off the Sunrail, run in, get a cup of coffee, get back on the train. And then we just announced with the grand opening of Canvas, maybe you've heard about the new tech co-working space downtown in the Exchange building. We're going to put a little coffee bar there, which we're really excited about. And through that coffee division, in addition to the coffee shops, we have partnerships here. And so this is a way for folks who are coming in all the time. They create a partnership and they donate automatically online. And then they come in, they don't have to make a donation every time they come in because they're automatically donating. You get a little CREDo mug to carry with you, remind you that you're a person of meaning, impact, and community, and that you want to be that person. And then you drink coffee from us. We also have a subscription model where if you say, I'd like to be a person of global impact in the coffee industry, so just mail me my coffee. I'll donate to you online, and you mail me 2 pounds a month every month. You go to our website at downtowncredo.com and you can set that up. So we're trying to introduce people to this credo of meaning, impact, and community through our coffee division. Then we also set up our conduit division, which the conduit division is like this. It's a light bulb, because it's a good idea. We had this recognition that a life of meaning, impact, and community will take creativity. It doesn't happen by accident. And so we have been hosting for the last 2.5 years free skill-based workshops where people can come and learn something that they might love. The problem a lot of times with life is we end up doing things that we have to do, not things that we love to do. And all the things that we love to do get pushed out, and all that's left are the things that we have to do. And pretty soon you end up living your life out of obligation, and things like meaning and community fall out really quickly. And you're just going through what actually absolutely has to happen. At CREDo, we say that our quality of life will go down when that happens, and we want to be a force to bring people towards a life of meaning, impact, and community. So every other month we'll do a series of 3 workshops. We just finished a coffee workshop where we taught people about cupping, roasting, and brewing coffee. Before that, we did a sewing workshop where we brought in sewing machines and a master tailor, and she taught us how to sew. Coming up in October, we'll do a series on design, where we have a creative designer from Maven creative agency in town teaching us the basic principles of design and how you could apply that. We're working on a partnership with Factor, a new maker space in town, to bring people in and show them how to use a CNC router and a laser cutter and learn new things that you might love. We've done songwriting and beer brewing. We've done how to be a gentleman. We've done shameless self-promotion. We've done blogging. Learn things that you might love. And then we have what we call Songwriter Stage, which is evening once a month, first Monday of every month, where we give the stage to songwriters where they perform original works. Because if you're a songwriter and nobody's ever going to listen to your music, you might quit writing. And we think your quality of life will go down if you're that kind of a person. So let's give you room. We make the whole room be quiet. They'll have anywhere from 30 to 80 people in the coffee shop. We make them all be quiet and listen to you. At the end of the night, they pick a winner, the best songs for the night, and they give them a cash prize. And that's every month. Just trying to get people to step into a life of meaning, impact, and community. Then our third division is Rally. So this is me drawing a bike tire. Does that look like a bike tire? Close enough. So we partner with 4 charities in town. This is how we started, because we wanted to lead people towards local impact. And so we go to 4 existing charities that are doing great work and say, what are you not doing that you'd like to be doing? And from that, we've had everything from trash cleanups. This is a grabber. We have a little program with kids in Paramore we call Golden Grabber, where we go once a month and do cleanups with them, and then there's a competition. We send them out in teams of 2, and the kids who pick up the most trash get some kind of branded Golden Grabber prize. It's really fun. Okay, I'll finish up. But so that's our 4 charities. And then we just launched this new project, which Ron mentioned, which I'm really excited about. We're calling Rally Makers. So Rally Makers is a social enterprise incubator. And we're defining a social enterprise as any organization that exists to solve a social, economic, or environmental problem and has an earned income stream in its business model. So what we've done is convene a group of philanthropists and successful business folks that donate a set of money that Downtown CREDo now manages. We set up an application process online. You can find it on our website, downtowncredo.com. Any social enterprise at any stage could apply. One that's been around for a while and wants to launch a new program, somebody that has a great idea and hasn't even incorporated yet. Anybody could apply. You fill out the application as best you can. Then me and some staff follow up with in-person interviews, pick out the 6 best. On October 15th, we're going to have a pitch night. The 6 best social enterprises to apply will pitch to our rally makers. These are the donors. Right now there's 12 of them donating anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a year. They'll pitch to those rally makers, and then the rally makers get to vote. 2/3 vote carries the day, and they can say, this idea is not worth our time. It's worth our mentorship, but no money. It's worth mentorship in $5,000, or it's worth mentorship in $20,000. So I'm really excited to get that process underway. October 15th, you're all invited to come out to the pitch night and apply any great social enterprise ideas you have. Thanks.
So again, just raise your hands and Shay or I will bring you a microphone. Organizers go last.
Ben, you rock.
Oh, thanks, man.
You do. I want to get more clear definition of social enterprise. This is any company that is running on a nonprofit but has a revenue-based stream in it, yes?
Actually, it's a little bit broader than that. We're defining it as any organization, whether it's for-profit, B Corp, or nonprofit, that exists to solve a social, economic, or environmental problem. This is it. They have to exist to solve this problem.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, the social problem is something that they identify as a social problem and then convince you that it is?
That's right.
Okay. Where do I apply?
If you go to downtowncredo.com and find the rally page,
Okay.
it'll be right there.
You'll be seeing me soon.
Awesome. We're closing those applications September 30th, so you got to get them in. Great.
Question for you. When did you realize that you weren't fulfilling your purpose? Because at some point you weren't, and now you are. So what was that point where you're like, you know what, this has to stop, and I need to be doing this?
Yeah, so when I grew up in Lake Mary and was gone for a number of years and came back with a wife and a kid, and then had another one, and we bought a house, and all of a sudden I knew I was going to be in Orlando long term, and I wanted the city to be different because I was here. I bought a house, I know I'm going to be here, it ought to be different because I'm here. And so how can I go about making a difference? And what I saw was a lot of times when we serve cities and try and change the face of a city, we take people who have stuff and we give their stuff to people that don't have it. And on both sides of that exchange, I'd seen the implication that our quality of life was tied to our stuff, in the people giving and the people receiving. And I just don't think that's true. I think our quality of life is more tied to who we're becoming than what we have. So I looked at how the city ought to be different because I'm here. I said, what I'd like to do is serve the city in a way that challenges people to think about who they're becoming rather than just what they have. And then just one step after another. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome presentation. I've got a group of students here, and I was wondering if what they could benefit from is if you could speak a little bit about what it took to take CREDo from just an idea that you had to address all of these varied issues that you want to address culturally in the area to actually opening the doors.
Yeah, persistence. So I heard somebody say the other day, most companies don't fail, they just quit. And so I think once you're convinced of an idea, problems need to be seen as obstacles to overcome, not walls in front of you. And so everything I came up to, it was just, okay, what do I need to solve this problem? How can we move around this? What can be done right now? What are there no obstacles in front of? So I think those two things together have helped me really strong. So what can I do right now with what I have available to me right now? And then there's no problem you're going to put in front of me that's going to stop me. I just have to figure out my way around it. And then the third thing is talk about your idea all the time to everyone. Because usually the way you're going to get around an obstacle is you meet someone who can help you go around it or over it.
Coming.
I just have a quick testimonial for you. Because besides this very impressive thought process that's behind that, CREDo is just a really nice place to have coffee. So just go there, hang out. There are a lot of nice people, creative. You can drink great coffee and have a, do something good at the same time. So just try it.
Beautiful, thank you. I didn't plant that.
Yeah, right.
That's the ask, by the way, is everybody or most people drink coffee, and there's no reason that your coffee can't walk you towards a life of impact. So we still go down once a year. We spend time with the growers. We maintain the relationship. They grow on a super small scale. The first guy, we walked around his plants. It took us 20 minutes to walk around all the plants that he had. So they're not really farmers. They just have some land and grow some coffee on it. They're in about half a dozen villages. There's several dozen farmers that we build a relationship with specifically. And so as you're drinking your coffee, it changes it when you know that the coffee is coming from some place specific with a person in mind. And so you could just we'll deliver it to your door. You brew your coffee at home. You just go onto the website and sign up for it.
The charities are local only, or could there be some places in the world like Haiti?
Yeah. So right now, here we are. We started here in 2010. Opened our doors at the shop in 2011. And one thing that's important to me is that all these pieces fit together. And so if we go any place besides Orlando, we're going to want to go in a way that allows us to set up coffee, rally, and conduit, moving people towards this life of immediate impact and community. So we have a dream one day to help serve other cities by challenging them to think about who they're becoming rather than what they have. But as we do that, we would want to do it in a way that allows us to set up all of it and not just one piece of it, because they all work together to build this network of people taking up this credo. Thanks.
I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to say, but I'm going to be provoked to say something because I resonate with your credo. When I determined what my purpose was, it didn't matter what I did, that's just what I do. The purpose was to be a connector. And so that facilitates what you're doing, because one right connection can compress, redeem, and accelerate time. You think you're years behind, and suddenly a month later you're like, I thought this was going to take 3 more years. And so when each of us figures out what our purpose is, my statement to the youth that are sitting in the chair back there, don't network yourself by what you do. Network yourself by who you are, and it will completely accelerate what you do, because everyone will want to know you for who you are. And so, I would love to I'm thinking about here you've got this innovative design thing going on with the hospital. I'm going, I see where there's actually the possibility for you to be establishing something there. And when you do, if you want somebody to come in that can play a role of a connector, I'm happy to facilitate. And I know that there are other, what I call hubs in the room, and I'm sure others would. So my question is, what is your ask?
Yeah.
I'm asking it again because I think it was incomplete so far.
Okay, great. Yeah, so there's a couple of places where you can plug in. Obviously, the easiest one is to join us on the coffee endeavor. The next one is to join us as a rally maker. So we're still taking on rally makers. Right now we've got 12. These are donors at a $5,000 or $10,000 level that make that tax deductible gift, and then 70% of that money is given away to new social enterprises. There are a lot of opportunities here that I didn't get to talk about where people can join us. I told Shay, I think I just got it to where we're going to organize a parade on Paramore Avenue with the kids from Paramore during spring break. So I'm really excited about creating a couple corporate opportunities for people to sponsor floats from, say, the John H. Jackson Neighborhood Center or the New Image Youth Center or the Downtown Rec Center, where the kids from Paramore will make floats over spring break. So there's a lot of opportunities. I'd love to just connect with you personally, find a best way to plug you in.
What do you think has been your biggest failure, and how did you kind of learn from that and branch out, become even better?
Yeah, it's funny. I got that question the other day, and when I first looked at starting CREDo, I missed a couple of things, and I misunderstood a couple of things. One of the things was I tried to convene people before I did something. That's not helpful. This is why I gave the advice to just do what you can right away and then tell the story. So the first couple events I tried to organize for CREDo, nobody came. Nobody really understood what it was. And I had to adjust and make sure that I knew who the initial target market was, and then decide what I could do by myself or with the few friends I could gather, and then tell the story behind it. And that was in 2009.
So we heard the ask, so you guys know what to do. And this is really one of the cool things that we're really excited as community organizers and 1 Million Cup organizers to bring to you, because it opens up a new window into what is going on in this community. And I saw a lot of tweets going through and a lot of people going, Phil, I didn't know Florida Hospital Innovation Lab existed and what it does. And I know that a lot of you did not know what Downtown CREDo stood for and what it does beyond really good coffee as well. So we're really happy to do this. Ben, thank you for coming to share and sharing your story. Really appreciate it. And so remember the asks and what you guys can do. Our ask as community organizers is each one of you next week could bring one more person. That would be wonderful. If you can go ahead and bring and encourage, if you have a story that you think would resonate here, please apply online. I'll give you real quickly the parameters that are required that we're looking for is ideally you're past the idea stage so you can come and share something concrete with the community. You are less than 3 years of age and you have scalability, so there's potential for you to grow beyond just the local borders. So think about that. Reach out to your friends, reach out to your community, tell them to apply because we want to be able to share your story. We're not focused on anything in particular, as you saw today, so we're not iOS or Android or web, or we're everything, and that's the platform and the community that we want to bring to you guys. So again, if you haven't liked us on Facebook, like us. If you haven't joined our mailing list, do so that way you know who is presenting at each week and if we're here or if we may be bumped location. And again, thank you very much. See you guys next week.